Let's call the City of Marine City Commission meeting to order in Marine City Fire Hall. Regular meeting Thursday, September 20th, 7 p.m. Can we please take a few moments and bow our heads for our dearly departed? And let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor Vanderbosch.
Here.
Commissioner Avery.
Present.
Commissioner Hendrick. Here. Commissioner Callahan.
Here.
Commissioner Clausen.
Here.
Commissioner Lepley sent notice that she would not be here tonight. Commissioner Turner. And I am here and the attorney is here.
Can I get a motion to excuse Commissioner Lepley? Mr. Avery.
I make a motion that Commissioner Lepley is excused from the meeting tonight, as she had
Motion,
given message of that.
motion, support, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Moving on to communication. I need a motion to receive and file the Planning Commission meeting minutes, August 13th, Department activity reports, the Marine City Area Fire Authority Run Report, Coastal Water Grant, and the Davis Curtsey Report.
So
Mr.
moved.
Avery.
I make a motion that we accept and file the communications that were just documented. Support.
Motion, support. Do we have any questions or concerns on communications? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Moving on to public comment. Anyone in attendance is welcome to address the City Commission. Please state your name and address, and please limit your comments to 5 minutes. Mr. Signorini.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Commission. Charles Signory, 224 North Elizabeth. Just want to thank all the commissioners that were there Tuesday night for the TIFA informational meeting. We learned a lot, I think, was said, and some good, some not so good news, but I think it was pretty favorable. I hope that you folks got something out of it and received and put it in the back of your head. So maybe before this time comes up, this could come back to a vote. I would really appreciate that you guys address the new TIFA law that's coming up in 2019 with the restructuring of TIFAs, the new reporting. Also, like the panel had said, the City Commission, the TIFA, and even the Planning Commission should get together, come up with a great plan for the city and the residents. And there's things that we've learned that night that we could pay for snow plowing in TIFA districts. TIFA districts can be restructured. In other words, we all know that TIFA 1 is basically done. We may need help in other areas of the city. There's neighborhoods, there's infrastructure, there's all kinds of things that can be done in those TIFA districts. With the new laws coming out, perhaps we could all work together and, hello? We could come together and come up with a good plan that services the city and the
I'm just going to shut that off. Go ahead.
the residents.
Sorry.
That's okay. Don't hold it against my time, please. So no, it's real important to me, these things to get done in the city. I'm not pointing fingers, but I will say that the city council in the past, and I'll even say the TIFAs, I wasn't really on it, I've only been on it a couple of years. We've lagged behind. We're always a reactive board, it seems like. I want to become a proactive team together. And let's get together, put these ideas, have your input, have the planning commission's input, like these folks have said, and work together to complete these projects in the city. Things are not done in a timely manner, whether it's here or 5 years ago. I'll use one for, in the Tifa district, the beach, back when the first city manager, John Gaber, he had the city DPW cut the curbs for parking. That's been three years. It's just, we need to move forward a little bit quicker. City Hall, 13 years later. We need to move on that, and I know that's something this year that was planned for you folks. To get a building and whether you build it, lease it, whatever. I have a building on Parker that's available that we could all fit into, Autocraft, I think you guys ought to look into. It's for sale, it's in a Tifa district, and it's something that maybe we can work forward to work together, to purchase that property, put the DPW together, the police station together, City Hall together, get out of here and get you guys a permanent home. It's something that's viable, it's something that I think needs to be looked at. And again, as a team factor with all of the Planning Commission, City Council, and Tifa. Thanks, guys, I appreciate all your time.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Mr. Melly.
Yes, Raymond Melly, 408 Pearl Street. And I just wanted to elaborate a little bit more. I did go to that Tifa meeting on Tuesday, and I did confront the guy after the meeting. And see, I look at it this way. With Marine City, a lot of things dealing with Tifa had a lot to do with 300 Broadway. And I'm at the point, if we put it behind us, let's move forward. And I was with Chuck today, and we were looking at the Autocraft building. There's a lot of potential there, but it's in the Tifa district, but in order for Tifa to purchase it or put a bond on it, or for the city to move on that building, you have to have a plan. And I went into detail, and if you don't have a plan, you can't purchase a building in one thing or another. And I look at Marine City, a lot of things have to deal. Let's stay in the Tifa district. Let's build up the Tifa district on Autocraft. That building is a very nice building, and I've always been for consolidating. If you look in the schools, how they consolidate the schools and bring down the budgets and stuff. And same thing with for us. Practicality is, if we had the police department, the DPW, and City Hall, one building, one roof, and same gas bill, water bill, electric bill, and same maintenance. And what I'm saying is, it's a lot of opportunity, and there's a lot of land that goes with that property. And I'm a practical person. I want to count the cost of different things. And I know it's a touchy subject with Tifa, but it's a tool that we can recuperate a large sum of money. And one thing that they brought upon the meeting Tuesday night was, when they first did the Tifa, it was 30 years ago, and it was on the value of the homes 30 years ago. Yes, in 2002, 2004, whatever, the housing dropped, but it never came down as low as 30 years ago for the housing. So, yeah, we're still recuperating a lot of money, and to lose a Tifa, it's a vital tool. And if we can use it strategically, I said it wrong, but if we can use it and work together as a team, that was the other thing the guy mentioned from the pulpit, is that if the council and Tifas don't work together, if they want their own ideas, it's going to fold. If you got to work together to make the city to recuperate extra money. And to me, this is our town, And time is enough that we need to move forward. The Guy Center needs to go back to the people. We need to really consider about getting a new building. And there's so many opportunities to do with that building. And as far as 300 Broadway, yeah, we had other ideas to do with that, but right now it's under lease for 10 years. So, you know, I mean, we could go different avenues, but I want to speak from my heart, and I'm concerned that I want to see our city grow forward, and it'll be nice to have our own council in our own building instead of sharing it with the police, with the fire station. And, you know, I mean, there's so many possibilities, and believe me, it's a nice opportunity. I really, Elaine, if you can take a look at that building, and city mayor, it's something to really see, and you got the land, you got the parking, there's so many possibilities about it, and maybe you can negotiate a fairer price or whatever, who knows? But, all right, thank you for your time, and, my best forward is, I want to fight for the city. This is our city, and I just want to see us move forward, and this be practical. And if we can save our neighbors some money, why not? Why? I'm not for raising taxes, okay? So that's why my beef is if we can use Tifa in that regards, but, I mean, you guys got to make the decision. You got to have a plan and just go from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Hearing none, moving on to approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next, we need approval for minutes for the City Commission regular meeting, September 6, 2018.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting, City Commission meeting minutes of September 6th with one correction. On page 5 for roasted with perks, the vote, nays it says none. Should have been myself and Commissioner Clausen as nays.
Second.
Any other corrections or deletions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next, I need approval for the City Commission closed session minutes, September 6, 2008.
Make a motion to accept the minutes from the city commission closed session of September 6th as presented.
Support.
Motion, support. Okay, have any questions? Any deletions or adjustments to it? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carried. Moving on to the consent agenda. Business license for Rise Fitness, special event permit for Pumpkin Palooza Party, and special event permit for the Knights of Columbus Tootsie Roll Drive. Yes, Mr. Avery.
I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda, which is approving the 3 items shown.
Support.
Motion, support. Any questions on it? I've got one. And it may be towards the city attorney. I know that, and it goes for the Knights of Columbus, working in the corner. I know at one time there was a rescinding of Attorney General's ruling on them out in traffic. Has there been any change on that?
Go ahead.
Well, I know we got into that with the old Newsboys last year. We have to carry, I think, $1 million bond, and we also have to have reflective vests, or else you can't do it. So you might want to check with them to see if they have that.
That's the only change.
Okay, all right,
Thanks.
okay.
Thank you, Madam Council.
Any other questions on it? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Avery,
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Callahan,
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Turner,
Yes.
Mayor Vandembosh.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, moving on to the unfinished business. Motion to approve ordinance 2018-007, sign, second reading and adoption.
Just a quick summary on where we are from the last meeting. The only revisions that we have had are on page 4. We added that a minimum of 5 feet of unobstructed pedestrian access along the sidewalk shall be maintained at all times. On page 9, we deleted the language for projecting signs except as permitted in nautical mile district. That in essence makes it so projecting signs are allowed in any district. And we also added back on page 12, the language for temporary signs as regulated. And that was all per our discussion at the prior meeting.
Mr. Avery.
This ordinance seems to be adopted for a city that is not Marine City. And it does reflect the good things that have been done down on Water Street. I don't want to cast any problems with that. We worked hard to bring that up, and you hear nothing but good from people coming into town. But something as simple as on page 11, sign types shall require permit approval by the zoning commissioner for specified time periods, which in total do not exceed 60 days. Now, this happened to be on something like those little, well, feather signs. I think they call them something else in here. A lot of businesses have nothing to show. I know a business that's down in the valley, in effect, if you could have a valley in St. Clair County. You drive over the bridge, you're watching things on the bridge and at Bell River Road. You're not going to see anything down there. There is one business along there. And there is a little sign out there now, one of the feather signs. On page 12, it shall be unlawful for a person to erect, repair, or paint. So you can't do anything to your existing signs. Now, that's not changing. It's repair or paint. Granted, paint might be included as changing. Well, to repair a sign, to make it appropriate again. These are just some minor things. Page 13, down at C, alter any sign. Altering is painting. I know where some of these signs, since we use this miserable latex paint now, since enamel is frowned on, it only lasts a few years. There's something in here that I didn't mark about flashing lights. A lot of signs that people have is a commercial sign that you put in the window and it says open. That sign has the capability of remaining just on, or it has a slow flash up, stays on, and goes off. So it can be shut off. We have a lot of businesses that are not on Water Street that could have more attention drawn to them. Anyway, I will not vote yes on this approval as written. Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I move that we adopt ordinance 2018-007.
Support.
Motion support. Any other questions or concerns on it? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hendrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Callahan,
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Turner,
Yes.
Mayor Vandebosch,
Yes.
Commissioner Avery.
No.
Motion passes.
All right, moving on to new business. We will need a motion to approve the introduction of ordinance 2018-008, rental housing inspections, first reading.
I make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 2018-008 rental housing inspections.
Second that motion.
Motion and second. Do we have any questions on it?
I can just give a quick little summary here. This is something that's already been reviewed by the Planning Commission at their last meeting. They did make some minor changes to it. They added the definition of dwelling unit. They also took out any of the references that limited it to 6 months. So any rental for any period would be taken care of through this ordinance. It's on a 2-year cycle for inspections of the apartments or rental properties. That's about all I have. If you have any other questions.
How is this compared to the rental in some of the other surrounding communities?
I know that Susan has spent quite a bit of time looking at this and obviously has brought with her quite a bit of experience for rental inspection programs. She has looked at local ordinances and, as I said, worked with our planning consultant and feedback obviously from Planning Commission to amend this. So it has been pretty thoroughly researched.
It's very similar in scope and intent to several similar-sized communities I work with in Oakland County. I did attend the Planning Commission meeting on this particular ordinance. Would advise City Commission that the Planning Commission runs a very good meeting and very thoughtful on this particular ordinance. I gave them plenty of things to think about as we were looking at it in terms of privacy issues, non-privacy issues, comparing rentals to regular homes, and what is a rental unit. When your kids come back from college and want to live with you, are they tenants? We all got a chuckle out of that one. 'Cause none of us were sure how that worked. So it was a very thoughtful meeting, and I thought they did a good job, so.
Any other questions? Mr. Avery?
Do we have enough time allocated or funding in the budget for code enforcement of this? This looks like it could be, I mean, it's a good thing. I'm not saying we shouldn't do this, and I'm happy with reading this, but we have to be prepared to enforce it. She may be busy now enforcing all the little temporary signs that are out on the sides of streets.
I think she's kind of had a plan of state.
Yeah, she was planning on stepping into this kind of sections, kind
Yeah, we
of
kinda-
similar to how we have our sidewalk program, so that we'll have it spaced out. We're not gonna, in essence, be doing all of it at once. It is something that is gonna take a good amount of her time with the code enforcement, because we've been kind of starting up with that, something that we haven't been doing for a while. That's something that has started to get a little more under control, so that should start taking a little bit less of her time as this starts taking over.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. That all sounds very nice, but now, from a totally non-lawyer, a question. Can a fairness question be attached to this? Because somebody who's been renting for whom, I don't know, anyway. When we're selectively enforcing this, will there be a problem with that?
Now, and I don't want to say that we had suggested selective enforcement. This starts with a registration process, and one of the things that the community really seems to feel strongly about it is we want to know what units are out there subject to rental agreements. So the first step of this ordinance comes from the community back to us by way of a registration requirement. Whether you'll get 100% of folks registering every rental operation going on in the city is yet to be seen. And then what we have is then a 2-year cycle designed so that every one of those should be inspected in a 2-year period. So within the 2-year period, you can go in different sections. Not everybody has to be in the first 6 months because we gave it a 2-year period to conduct those inspections. So if they don't get to you for a year and a half, it's within the ordinance that your 2 years hasn't come around yet. So it should work out time-wise. But, we talked a lot about it at the Planning Commission was, the safety factor for fire and police. There's been a lot of communities where, $350 to a tenant who's willing to live in a room with an extension cord and a hot plate and $300 into the hands of the homeowner can be a very attractive arrangement until there's a fire or a police incident and nobody knows there's a tenant there. The house is vacated, but nobody knows there's a tenant there. So we tried to cover those situations by spreading out the inspection period. So it should work. It should not be a selective enforcement issue.
I work in a community that has that, and by scheduling it, you don't have it all thrown at one time. You schedule it so it's a quarter here, and then you get back and it starts all over again. By the 2 years, you're starting again at one.
That was the intent here.
Oh, go ahead.
I have a couple of questions here, and I did read through this, and I first of all want to say great job with the Planning Commission. You guys did a great job with this, so thank you. But I guess one of my questions is, when we're talking about the dwelling, are we also talking about the property that the house is sitting, the dwelling is sitting on? Because I think a lot of times our issues start with what a lot of people are complaining about is the yards and the fences and everything else around these homes. I mean, is that included in there anywhere?
Yes.
It is, so that does go there. Okay, and then kind of like a new issue that I didn't see in here, but what about things like Airbnbs? Is that covered here?
So
We
we
talked
took
about
out that
that.
limit of the 6 months, so even if you're renting it for a day.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, we actually, somebody far more talented than I at the Planning Commission actually went online during the meeting, and I was kind of shocked to learn how many we had, right? So who did that? Somebody did that.
20 or 30 just in the one
In the one
listing.
listing,
Oh, really?
person sitting to your left,
That was Brian Ross.
yeah, was able to pull it up, and so we kind of spent some time on that. And that was one of the reasons why the 6-month thing fell out, so that these things would be covered, because under the way it was written, if you weren't gonna have a tenant for longer than 6 months, you weren't covered. And then all of that would have escaped.
I mean,
Good.
typically your Airbnbs, if they're not kept up, they don't rent, but they're not,
Right,
people don't rent them, but yeah, no, so good.
good question.
I have absolutely no axe to grind in this thing, and I'm glad that the city is protecting us in that fashion. And I was happy to hear that the enforcement of inspections may not occur right away, but registration, that's good. So, thank you.
Yeah. And that's what kicks off the ordinance, is when the ordinance is the requirement that if you have a tenant, you need to let us know. And that's the beginning thrust of this ordinance.
And nobody here is gonna be grandfathered in or anything else, it's
Everybody's got to register. We need to know. I mean, you can drive in any community. It's easy to pick out the obvious rentals. They look like rentals. They're apartments. But you don't know what's going on in a house, right?
Any other questions or concerns? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Callahan,
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Turner,
Yes.
Mayor Vandebosch,
Yes.
Commissioner Avery,
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, moving on to financial business disbursements, including payroll for $2,547,271.97. Mr. Avery.
I make a motion that we approve the expenditure of $2,547,271.97.
Support?
Motion support. Any questions or concerns on it? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Clausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Turner,
Yes.
Mayor Vandebosch,
Yes.
Commissioner Avery,
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Callahan.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving on to preliminary financial statements. I need a motion to receive and file.
I make a motion to receive and file our preliminary financial statements as presented.
Support?
Motion and support. Any questions on the preliminary financials? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. City managers report.
The meetings that I attended since my last report here, Blue Meets Green, TIFA, and also the TIFA Forum. Safe Routes to Schools, they've been setting up and should be starting the construction for that project shortly. The phone system, we've been working on getting that installed in our buildings. We've had a couple bugs kind of rolling it out and learning the software. For Comcast, the phones are actually new to them, and the software is relatively new, so bear with us. We'll eventually get everything all sorted out and taken care of. That's it.
Any questions for the city manager? Hearing none, moving on to the commissioner privilege. Mr. Avery.
I start out by thanking the city team, managers, and people that have spoken to me to express condolences for the death of my son with his cancer. It's been good, thank you. There's nothing anybody could do, but it is nice that people stepped up and did that. Now I have to shift gears and go into, well, I'll start out. We had our 300 Broadway festival last weekend with very favorable weather. I don't know what the turnout is, but apparently it was less than we've had years before. But there's a lot of work that's gone into it. But along with that, while spending time looking at the building, I see that we are falling back into our old ways as a commission of, and this is before my time, in fact, most of the people here, of either wanting to kill the building and get rid of it so you let it crumble, or we just kick the can down the road because we don't want to spend any money maintaining a beautiful piece of property. There is exterior maintenance that has not been done for some time. There is damage evidence at this point. I have not seen anything in budgets for this. I think it's time that we step up and actually continue to maintain that piece of property. Thank you.
Mr. Claus.
You know, condolences. The Pumpkin Palooza that's coming up, that's another thing that people have wanted to do as a yearly thing now, every year, so that'll be coming up, and hopefully it'll go over good and we can get it going. I know I volunteered again, I don't know why, but. And it just, if we had more people that volunteered and cared, we wouldn't be sitting here trying to figure things out. Thank you.
Yeah, I do want to thank and congratulate the committee that put together Heritage Days. It was a nice event, and I think, you know, we were there around the corner, so we kind of saw the ebbs and flows of the crowd, so, and you did have great weather. I do want to remind everybody that their Comic-Con is going on this weekend out at the Marine City Banquet Center from 10 to 4. It's the first time we've had it out there, so they are expecting maybe 1,000 people to flow through there, so we'll see what happens. It could be a very interesting event to kind of watch, even if you don't go in, just kind of watch people come in and out. We have the Blue Water Area Startup School in town on the next Saturday, on the 29th. We're expecting about 200 participants in that, and they will be kind of floating around all around town here on breakout sessions, and just kind of learning about businesses and, you know, how to present yourself, how to not be shy, and, you know, how to, you know, the realities of running a business. I mean, you really can't tell people that, but you have to actually live through that and understand that. But to see that everything's not all, you know, sunshine and daydreams when you're running a business, what people think it is. But it should be a very good event, and I think it's going to bring people into the town. Of course, we have Pumpkin Palooza coming up then after that. But then I do want to let people know that we've already had 2 meetings for Maritime Christmas, so we're rolling on that already. So, other than that, I think that's it. So, thank you.
Lisa.
All right, it's that time of year for all the stuff we have going. The Lions is gonna have a wine tasting on October 9th, so if anybody needs tickets, just contact any Lions members. You can contact me also, or Terry Philo. Also, in the Old Newsboys is starting the first Tuesday, I think in October is going to be the first meeting, but if anybody ever like to volunteer to help out the Old Newsboys, just let us know. We have a whole schedule. We start now, and we start trying to raise a lot of money for all the kids that we provide Christmas for. So if anybody wants to help, it's a good organization to join, and we have a lot of fun doing it. Thanks.
Just a couple of comments. I attended the Tifa Town Hall meeting on Tuesday. That was extremely informative. The only regret is I wish that would have happened several months ago. What impressed me the most was the panel of experts that the Tifa brought together didn't take a side. They right from the start said, we're not for, we're not against, we're not here to take a side. But they presented good facts. And it kind of opened up my eyes to, you know, I wish this board would have had that information before making their decision. Some of the things they pointed out, I mean, there's still an option for a TIFA, DDA, whatever, but they pointed out the hurdles that you would have to jump just to try and start one up again. They pointed out how much you're going to be losing by this decision to close. And like Charles pointed out, the fact that tax values from 30 years ago, if you were to start over again, are going to be at today's values. It's a huge difference. And all the possibilities of the county money that we collect today, that's going to be lost, and the other opportunities that it could have been used for. But one of the most important things they said was, you can shelf it. You don't have to collect that money and use it each time. You can still have your authority and just defer to not collect that money. So there was a lot of good information. I wish that but for anybody that wasn't there, I was also glad to see Channel 6 was there. So it's taped. You can actually go and see for yourself. That's it.
I'd just like to apologize that I missed it, but I had a pending meeting as the St. Clair County Fire Chiefs Association. We are having some issues with the radios right this time, so it's kind of a vital meeting to get to. And I do want to talk about Comic-Con a little bit, since my wife's one of the heads of it, and if I don't say something, I'm in trouble. We do have the ghost hunters coming, who are actually, have been seen on the History Channel and one of the Discovery Channels also. So it's going to be interesting. I know she's got a couple things planned for Friday night, too. She's going to talk me into something. I know what she is. She's got a lot of pull. Yeah, and then Pumpkin Palooza, we've started picking pumpkins already for it, so Mr. Moran, they're on their way. Other than that, just, we're getting close to the end of registration for voting. If you haven't registered, you've got, I believe, October 6th, or right in that area. But if you need to get registered, please get registered now, so you can, it's our civic duty. And with that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Support?
Motion and support, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.